Okay, so welcome to my second video, the second part of the screencast. We are dealing with the classification of nanomaterials, and we now move into the second type of nanomaterials, which is one-dimensional nanostructure. And one-dimensional nanomaterials are those materials in which exactly one dimension is not in the nanoscale, which therefore would mean that two dimensions are in the nanoscale. Representative examples of one-dimensional nanomaterials are nanotubes, nanofibers, nanorods, and nanowires. So we say tube, fiber, rod, wire, and the essential thing here is that you have to note that all of these structures have a cylindrical shape. So when I say cylinder, the thing that we have to contend with is the diameter of these structures. And the thing that is common to all these nanotubes, nanofibers, nanorods, and nanowires is that their diameter should be within the 1 to 100 nanometer range. And of course with the added concession that their length could be in the micrometer regime. And the thing that differentiates a nanotube from like nanofiber, nanorod, and nanowire is that only the nanotube has a hollow core, whereas nanofibers, nanorods, and nanowires are made of solid cores. Moving on. A nanofiber, it has it is an amorphous structure and it is usually non-conductive. A nanowire, it is crystalline and it can either be metallic or semiconductor material. Nanorod. Now this is an interesting thing. Like I said, it is one of these three nanostructures which has a solid core, but with the added condition that its diameter and its length, both of them should be more or less similar to each other. That is, both the diameter and the length of a nanorod should be more or less than or equal to 100 nanometers, which means that these structures, nanorods, have rather rigid sidewalls. Okay. And I don't know how to move forward now. Okay, yeah. Right. So this slide, this shows a slew of SEM micrographs. I'll very quickly take you through these. These three micrographs on the top, these depict nanorods. And as you can see from the third micrograph over here, nanorods are rather linear structures. They're rather straight. And if something is linear, it makes sense to say that these structures can be stacked one above each other. As opposed to nanorods, nanowires, nanotubes, and nanofibers, these are not linear, but they have a rather interwoven array. And because they are interwoven, they cannot readily be stacked upon each other. So this is one point of difference between nanorod and the other three one-dimensional structures. Okay, so that brings me to the third type of nanomaterial, which is the two-dimensional nanomaterial or the two-dimensional nanostructure. By definition, this would be a material in which two of the dimensions are not in the nanoscale, which means only one dimension is in the nanoscale. So you have to remember that we classify our nanomaterials into different types depending on how many dimensions are not in the nanoscale. Okay. So representative examples of two-dimensional nanostructures are nanofilms, nanolayers, and nanocoatings. And their salient features are two-dimensional nanomaterials are amorphous, or they could even be crystalline. They could be made of various chemical compositions. And the nanofilm or the nanolayer or the nanocoating as such, it could be made of a single layer or it could be a multi-layer. And when we say we have obtained a nanofilm or a nanolayer, we don't normally obtain that on thin air or in thin air. We need a substrate. So it makes sense to say that nanofilms, nanolayers, and nanocoatings are obtained on substrates. And of course, when we say I've obtained a nanofilm, I do not want that nanofilm in the form of isolated islands. I want that nanofilm to be spread evenly onto my substrate. So that is the meaning of this point, which says nanofilms, nanolayers, nanocoatings are integrated into the surrounding matrix material. And of course, these could also be metallic, ceramic, or polymeric. The materials that we use to make nanofilms could be metallic, ceramic, or polymeric. So that brings me to my concluding slide in this screencast, which actually ties together this entire classification scheme that we have been talking about for the last few minutes. So let's start off with the zero-dimensional nanomaterial. Again, 0 dimensions not in the nanoscale, meaning all the 3 dimensions in the nanoscale, this part of your figure here. So 1 dimensional nanomaterial, 1 dimension not in the nanoscale, meaning 2 dimensions in the nanoscale, this region of your cube here. Moving on to 2-dimensional nanostructures, 2 dimensions not in the nanoscale, meaning only 1 dimension in the nanoscale, this particular region of your figure. And examples you would recall are nano coatings, nano films, or nano layers, wherein just the thickness is probably in the nano regime and the other 2 dimensions are in microns. So with that said, the question that I'd like you to ponder upon is this. In the resource creation assignment 1, we talked of ITO films and titanium nanoparticles. I'd like you to think about where would you classify what type of nanomaterials are ITO films and titanium nanomaterials, and of course give reasons for the classification that you choose for these 2 nanomaterials. That brings me to the end of this video, and thank you for watching.